only if you had a bar date come in there. If somebody else invented before you, or if you don't know that, yeah. Or if you put something on sale, or if we offered something on, which we did, offered it for sale. But the offer for sale date from our first meeting is not until September. Right. So all the offer for sale will normally kick off the form for the bar. Explain to me the offer for sale. Sure. As soon as you can't get a patent on a product after you've been using it for more than a year. As soon as you publicly disclose your invention, you've got 1 year in the United States to get a patent on file, okay? Even if you don't publicly disclose it, let's say I've got a method of making glyphosate in my factory, but it never gets outside. I'm starting to commercialize it. I'm making money off my invention. The commercialization date a year later, you can't patent it in the U.S. So that's that 1 year grace period. Are we within that period? Yeah, as far as we know, yeah. As far as we know, grace period. Okay, so somebody explain one thing to me. What am I doing here? Why are we saying that Rachel, other than being sloppy, that there's not much damage that could have been done or can be done because we can fix it, which really would make me the happiest to hear that. I think let's just say there are two steps. We're going to make the filing this week. And to the best of our knowledge, we expect that all of this stuff in this filing is going to be this week. Okay? Okay. And that will be within the commercialization period. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at filing an addendum to the original Senate funding to strengthen the claims, broaden the claims to the maximum extent that we reasonably can. Okay? If we need it, I'll bet a lot of this was swept up into. Now, okay, we got it. Here's my question. If we, what we're trying to do is protect the original date of March the 24th, because that probably should be made an objective. And if you read the language now, would there be a red flag to the commissioner? That's all that you should have done it earlier? Or should we just say that it was all in there? It's caught just now. You would rather have commissioner. Well, I don't know what it said within the claim. Well, but what happens when you start to amend them or broaden them is you sort of starting to admit that you didn't do it. Yes and no. I do that all the time. Okay. If you don't like the time, then you should do it. Oh, that's all the time. We have to do it. We have to do it anyway. But in order to have, and I feel more comfortable with it, we normally have a search done. The patent examiner will do a patentability search, and he will come back and reject it. The problem is, if the claims are too narrow to begin with, he will not come back and reject it. He'll allow it, and boom, now I can't amend it. He's allowed. I can file a continuation on it. I keep dragging this out and get broader claims. As long as the subject matter... So that's why you said that this appeal... No. Thank you. I was maybe eating breakfast or lunch. Now you get more physical breakfast. I'm going to eat for you guys. No, but broadly, if you're saying claim it broadly, if I don't defend that broadly, that's what I'm saying. But this is claimed broadly. Right. And that's the normal tactic to claim things broadly, and then wait for the examiner to come back and say, oh, you can't get it that broad, then narrow down the claims. Okay, so if you let that he was in part positive, that's what he's going to say. Yeah. Well, would that not be... I'm interested with how patent attorneys try to do things. Well, claim one, if you look at their claim one, Chris, that they've written, it identifies what you're trying to do. Okay, so maybe it should have been written differently. But you don't get patent attorneys to write the same claim. No, but you try to write the claim, and that's the teaching you
and Steve both represented us here to describe in its broadest terms the invention.
Well, I can't say that this isn't broad. This is very broad. This might be rejected for indefiniteness. I don't know what it is. But now he's got the opportunity to go back.
There's an unfilmed image in here. That's all supposed to be out of here.
So what you're telling me is that in the other formal law, they're always going to be
we set up a year.
Be supported in the original document. There's a big card on the back.
Didn't do that.
He didn't. No, there's nothing between the original and the comment about it. And some people think the original is found narrow just to get something on file. And then they can come back.
That can be repaired without any damage to it.
But you don't know that because an examiner
will never know that until you have a litigation.
And then the question is what potential damage does that
damage potential, and that remedy would be then taking place at that time, not now.
That I agree with.
Okay.
I think even if we decide something now, you won't know what the outcome is. Yeah, that may be fine, but not going to happen anyway. We don't know that. But maybe can we come back now to where I was? We are going to file on the 2nd, on Wednesday. That will be, as far as we know, that will cover every element of this invention that we have our arms around as at this point in time. I believe so, yeah. And we should go back and address what amendments we can make to the claims in the filing of March this year. Right? And determine within the spec of the filing how broad those claims can be. I mean, that's going to be the test. Within the spec of that filing, how much leverage have we got to broaden those claims so that we do have a priority date, which is back a year ago last March. Right?
We want to insert everything going into this one into that one.
No, it'll be based upon the preamble, if you will, what's in here. We do reference it. In fact, this is the cover page, Brian, of the application we're going to do. We reference it right there.
If you can add the names to that one that you're referencing, that would encompass what we have in today's file, which is really, we do want it in there.
Yes, I can add claims to the Zoom and PAN to get back to the original date. In this one, to add a claim to this, onto this.
Well, we should do both.
And, well, you can't get two patents on the same invention. So it just depends on where we want to go.
Yeah, we want to definitely get it on his because it gets us another date, right?
No. It's a mess with these dates. What will happen is nobody will worry about the dates unless there's an occurrence. And an occurrence, it's a major problem. You won't find out about that occurrence until you sue somebody, and then they go search in Australia, and they find the reference that somebody's done this before, and and then you worry about the date. Now, were you before here? Right. Okay. Well, if somebody goes back, I got to go back. Right, so you have to go back to this date. Can I point out one other thing? That I know we look for the words, listen to this. I know we look for the word Zoom, but there's also other language in here too. Sometimes we get caught up in the word Zoom, when what is zooming other than enlarging or reducing? And he does have language in here. When enlarged or reduced, these pixels of the digital image become distorted, a feature which typically results in the digital image being fixed to an original size or being available at low magnification, such as, for example, magnifications from 200 to 300 times. These digital images are also difficult to enlarge to a full screen without a tremendous amount of distortion present in the end product. Yeah, he's just arguing, that's zooming. Is zooming.
But he's not putting it in your claims. That's what he's saying. You see, that's his...
It has to be, as long as he's... If you've been mentioned, if it's not on record, I think it's a classic, but that's not
that's where it's not.
I've put it on a couple of times. It's not
They're in the claims, and the claims are leaving.
The claims
you could not
don't matter.
But in the patent?
The patent claims lines on a pending application basically...
No, the ones he filed.
Yeah, they basically don't matter. I can go back and check.
Okay. So we want to change back to the original one he filed. Put as much language as we can that we know today. Oh, well, it's all supported. Well, everything you wrote in that new one is supported in this one because it's the same process.
That's the ultimate problem that Steve and I, Steve is Becker, is the other patent attorney who's working with me. He actually wrote these patent applications and I'm supervising. But that's the ultimate problem that we're worried about, and that's the problem you always worry about unless you, first of all, have a handle on the invention, inside and outside. Second of all, unless you really have a handle on the prior art, okay, so you know where you want to go with it. And then you spend the time and the money to do a good original filing. You've got a pretty good shot that it's supported then. But when you file, I got to try and cover this date, and then when you do this kind of stuff, there's always going to be a question of what was supported when.
But that's fine. It is supported. So we should definitely claim back to the earlier date.
We may get a rejection, or you may find out in litigation 5 years from now that none of this was supported. Some court may say that you never taught how to do this because your software wasn't in the patent application.
It is, though.
Well, the court isn't. They might say that these long diagrams and these breakouts aren't good. There's always that.
But if they accept it, we want it to be to the furthest filing date we can, which is March 3rd, 2000. And therefore, that's where it should lie. And if it's going to get argued, let it live or die. That's it.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do right now.
Okay. So I'm under the impression from this point that we're going to encompass what we've learned that we're filing, even in this other one, into the original one, so we can claim back to a March 3rd filing date that claims back to our original March filing date.
March 3rd. All that will go back for what is supported in here, in the original. Now that that's supported in ours. Okay.
And it's all going to be supportable because you're going to be able to throw up an image of the nature that we were discussing, and anybody with an eye can see that you've now done this. Well, you're going to be able to show your invention, aren't you?
No,
you can't.
You live it on and what's in the spec. That's right.
You get it in there.
Yeah.
Right. No, you can't bring in as evidence that the invention is.
Only outside evidence of what the average level of skill in the art is. Okay? If somebody said that the flow chart isn't detailed enough, I'm going to call it today. Here's 29 programmers are going to testify and say, I can't even get my sleep with this document. So there's always going to be a battle about the level of support.
Now, a major, Maurice and I were Maurice and I were talking, because neither one of us understands patents or how you file them with inventions, actually. But we do understand a little bit about security in business, and now that we know that Rachel might have been somewhat sloppy, not suggesting that he's not a fine attorney or anything else, you've reviewed all of these patents that we have, whether there are 8 or 10 of them?
There were 8 original filings and then 8 original filings.
Okay, and then how many do we have now?
This is the chart right now, but it's basically 17 applications that have been filed. These old ones are dead now because they were provisional.
Okay,
and we cover there, we pointed out basically covering almost only 2, maybe 3 inventions. So there's not, if you want to start over, maybe you do this with 2 patents, maybe 1 application. So who owns it? Iviewit Holding Inc. owns all, except for how did he get it?
He's part of the invention.
And so I got a document right here for him to sign. If he signs, then I do everything.
He signed when he faxed it to him originally.
I have a copy of each one of these. Can I get a copy of your index? Okay.